Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is episode 53 of Shacknews Presents Pop Goes the Culture. I'm Donovan Erskine, news editor at Shacknews. This is Greg Burke, our illustrious head of video. Greg, happy Thursday.
How does this day come so fast every week? But I'm getting caught up though, which is good. I think we are all in terms of this month. It's always busy, but it's not as crazy as it was for the holiday normally.
Yeah, I've had a pretty fair week, and it has gone by fast. I'll say that for sure. Yesterday I had a moment where I was like, is today Monday or Tuesday? And I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, Wednesday. Good to know. And I just carried on. But
shit, that's what I think. I'm like, wait, what's today? And I look at the clock. Fuck. Start to do it real quick. Go set everything up.
Yeah, it just flies by. Especially, I always feel like the beginning of the year flies by even faster than the rest of it. January, February, March, April always feels like a blip, and then it's like summer, fall, winter. But Greg, we're here to talk about the latest in film, television, entertainment, and boy howdy, to quote our own TJ Denzer, a little catchphrase of his.
Boy
we
howdy.
have some great topics lined up. I think really every news story we have here is like could be like the main topic of the show, or could be like a headlining topic. So gonna be some fun conversations, probably some debate slash arguments throughout here. But either way, it'll be.
If you
it'll be
don't
exciting.
know what I'm about at this point, I don't know what else I can say.
I mean, if you follow Greg or seen him anywhere, anytime, you probably have a good idea of his stance on a lot of this stuff. But we're gonna start off with Futurama, Greg, a show that I know you like, as well as a lot of members of the Shack staff. As a matter of fact, Futurama is coming back. Hulu has ordered a revival of the series, the classic adult animated series from Matt Groening. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Groening?
Yeah.
Yeah, his original animated series and a bunch of the original cast and creative talent is coming back, except for John DiMaggio, who played Bender, who many would argue was like the standout character in that show, which despite quite the controversy, it's been polarizing because it originally was like Futurama's coming back, everyone's excited, and then they're like, oh, but they're gonna recast Bender, and everyone's like, no, why, what's happening? Yeah, Greg. So as a Futurama fan, I'm curious how you feel about this and the whole John DiMaggio situation.
So, John DiMaggio, they hasn't. It's in that tricky spot in negotiations where he hasn't confirmed or denied. And based on what I've read in some, not just the Variety article, but some other articles, is that he's kind of reluctant to return. He hasn't given an answer yet, and that could be because either he's too busy or doesn't want to do it, or just some actors go through that phase where I did that. He's done that role. He's been Bender for God. I don't even know how many seasons Futurama ran, 8 plus spinoffs and movies. Let me see if I can find how many Futurama seasons there are, just to confirm it, because I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 8.
Yeah, I know.
7 seasons.
Okay, that was close. Yeah. I know in the report it says that the two sides weren't able to reach an agreement, which you would assume means money or contract details. And I saw Tara Strong, very iconic, well-known, recognizable voice actor, posted and was like, blah blah blah, big mistake. And then she kind of posted about how voice actors always kind of get the short end of the stick with money, and how they don't get paid anywhere near as much as physical visual actors do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's a point I know you've brought up a lot on this show. So I mean, we don't know for sure if that's the case. It kind of seems like it when a bunch of the other cast is coming back and he's not. But the thing that would kind of surprise me, I think it's in that Variety article, they say that the first table read is Monday. So that's very soon. We just found out about this week. Of course, it's been in the works long before we heard about it, but it does still feel pretty quick. And as of now, it says they're looking to recast, which I'm not even the biggest Futurama fan, but I'm I can't imagine that show coming back and hearing somebody else's Bender and everybody being like, yeah, that's good. I mean, John DiMaggio was 10 out of 10 top tier voice acting talent. I don't think it's crazy to say that he is irreplaceable. So
yeah, and it could be, like I said, we don't know. I wish they would be straightforward about it. I wish Entertainment Law, they're like, well, he wanted $10 billion and we didn't have $10 billion. You know what I mean? Some ridiculous high number, because it could have been any number of those things. He just didn't want to do it. He asked for too much money, or he's too busy. It's one of those three things, right? And we can't, unless I call John DiMaggio and I don't have his number. I've interviewed the guy a couple times. Super nice dude. Most voice actors are. Yeah, but Futurama is a weird case because it's one of those, much like Family Guy, Futurama took a while to find its community. It wasn't a super fast start, right? Like people didn't really like the show when it came out. I think it was canceled twice and came back twice. So like it took but it grew on people, and like it's always when the show gets canceled that then in reruns or syndication that people are like, oh wait, this show's really great, and then they have to like bring it back again. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I love the show. I loved it when it first came out. I think I quote it all the time. None of my other friends like it. They just don't like it. I quote it all the time on Slack and on my Twitter, and I'm known as the resident Zoidberg of the Shacknews staff. So like I totally, yeah, that's who I am. That's basically me.
It's funny because Futurama is one of those shows. There's like a handful of shows that like were popular. They had like a great following, and then they go off the air, and they somehow get like even more popular and bigger after they're done. Like The Office, right? Where like The Office was a very popular show, but like it's bigger now than it's ever been, and there hasn't been a new episode in 10 years. And I think, well, not less than 10, but still, Futurama's the same way, right? When you see like all the Fry memes that people post with like the squint or the take my money, or even like the like copy pasta where it's like it's Saturday night, I've got a Shasta and whatever.
I got no date. A 2 little butter Shasta. On my All Rush mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm not surprised that this one's coming back. Hulu is an interesting landing spot for it.
Well, it's Fox. But, it's Fox. Fox owns The Simpsons, which is also absolutely just an audacity that's not on Hulu. Like the latest season is like on Hulu, but all the backlog episodes are on Disney Plus, which we'll get into later. But that's like just an audacity. I mean, like, how do you not have The Simpsons on Hulu? It's a Fox network. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Greed is the answer.
I mean, Fox is a Disney network now, so I mean it's weird. But I don't know. The streaming thing. Again, you're right. We'll get into it later, but it's very bizarre how a lot of that stuff is chopped up. Especially when you start talking like regional, where it's like I think like in the UK, like Family Guy's on Disney Plus. It's I don't know.
The streaming rights get really confusing really quickly, and that was that was a point of controversy. I don't want to get into it too much, but with this new Star Trek Discovery, it wasn't on Netflix in the US, but it was on Netflix in like every other country but the US. So you could watch it by like hooking up a VPN to your computer or your tablet, and then telling it you're in UK, and then you could watch it on Netflix. Just a fun little thing you can do for like region locked streaming services, which are bullshit anyway. But
yeah, well, that's what happens when there's a million contracts and agreements that have to be made for like every little thing, for every show, movie. And a lot of times what happens is like you sign a contract for something to be somewhere for 2 years, and then half of that, like a year into that contract, somebody gets acquired or something gets sold, and then it becomes all weird. And next thing you know, you're watching Iron Man on the Stars Network, and you're like, what's going on here?
All hell breaks loose. Spider-Man's on Hulu, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah. And the only person that suffers is the consumer, or that's who suffers the most, is the person that just wants to watch the damn thing. But you've got to get a million free trials.
But like, have you seen the whole series? Are you a late fan of it, or you're just not your thing? Like, what is your status on the show?
My like memory of Futurama is just, it's one of those shows that like at night it'd be on like Adult Swim. Like when I was going to sleep, when I was like up too late on a school night, or if I woke up at like 1 a.m., it'd be on. And I liked it well enough. It wasn't like one of those shows where I'd turn the channel. Like I remember I always hated like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, couldn't stand that show. If I woke up and that was on, I would like turn my TV off.
That's not my cup of tea either. Yeah, I did not like Aqua Teen at all.
But no, I thought Futurama was funny. I've only seen a handful of it, definitely not all the episodes. I've always dug, like, John DiMaggio's great. I know, me being Gen Z growing up in the 2000s, like, when I think of him, I think of like Jake the dog from Adventure Time. Is probably the role of his I was most exposed to, which he's great in. But Bender's hilarious. He's one of the funnier characters in that show. And I always remembered like watching Family Guy when they would do like random, not crossovers, but like when they would just have random characters pop up. Like I remember there was a couple episodes of Family Guy where you just see Bender, and he's just there just because why not? But I know I'm curious to see the rebooted sequel. I'm looking forward to it. If they're able to come to an agreement and they announce, you know what, we figured it out, John DiMaggio is going to be Bender, I think a lot of people will be happy. I'll definitely be a lot more excited for it. But yeah,
I care more about, like, I mean, the cast, having the cast come back would be nice, but I care more if the writers come back, because the ironic thing in comedy writing, especially like adult cartoons like Family Guy, Futurama, Simpsons, is like these writers are like Brown University grads, Harvard grads, like they're insanely educated. Like it's bonkers how educated these writers are with these master's degrees in these really prestigious schools. And some of these gags are just if you're not paying attention or you don't like trying to say this in the nicest way possible, because one of my friends hates this show, and he doesn't get it. And I'm like, and it's like that cliche of, well, you're just not smart enough, kind of. It's kind of like that cliche. Like, he says all rush mixtape, which means it's not a mixtape because it's all rush. Like, that's the gag, that's the joke. And if it goes over your head, then there's nothing I can do for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just different type. It's a different type of humor, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of that comes from their like higher education, but it's even in like you see that in other like subgenres of comedy too. Like I know I just referenced The Office, but that's another one where it's like that show is so beloved, but there's some people that like cannot stand that show, can't watch a single episode, and it's not because like the humor's so intelligent. It's just because like it's the dry humor, and a lot of people don't like the like awkward, cold stare at you punchline and then 10 seconds of dead silence jokes. Like they think it's the worst thing ever. But that's what makes comedy so interesting. You hear a lot of like comedy writers talk, and a lot of them say that's like one of the most challenging genres in like film and television, or one of the hardest to crack. Uh, which I think just makes it all the more awesome when you get shows like this that really nail it. Denny says it's about 50-50 split on these revivals. Yeah, for sure. They're pretty hit or miss. Obviously, we're in an era where like everything's coming back. Some stuff's coming back, and you're like, why? Like, who did this serve? Other shows and properties come back, and you're like, this is pretty damn good. So it'll be interesting to see what side of that fence Futurama falls on. Of course, it's not like that old of a show. This isn't like a 30-year-old property that's getting revived from the ashes. I'll be interested to see how it looks like.
And Billy West is he's a very interesting dude. Like he's very. I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it. He's very unique. That's what I'll say. He's very unique.
Say he's eccentric?
Oh man, like I mean, I had a chance to talk to him at a few conventions, and he's just like, he has like a pedestal. He doesn't like violence at all. Like he'll just talk about like how violence is bad, and like I'm like, oh okay, you know, like it's kind of awkward. Like you want to meet him, it's like, oh, like I love your work, you know, Futurama's great, and like, but then like he goes on these like benders, of like, you know, violence in video games and youth and all this stuff, and you're like, oh okay, like it's like kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like it's like when you go up to somebody like me, like say you didn't even know me, and I just start like, they're like, do you like Jurassic Park? And I'm like, no, but let me tell you about this other thing. Let me tell you about the children in Uganda that are starving. And you're like, okay. And you kind of slowly step back. Like, that's kind of what he does, like in certain situations.
The barista at Star Wars asking Greg if he wants a lightsaber spoon, and then he's telling him about how he
child in Uganda, people are starving. It's so weird. Like, some of his interviews, like, okay. Yeah. But like he's great. Funny. He voices a ton of people in the show. And interesting fact, there was a lawsuit years ago when the show first came out about like voices, because Billy West did Fry's voice like for a commercial, did like a Fry-like voice for another show, and he got in big trouble for that. So like you can't go on other shows. I don't know if you've seen, like you mentioned The Office. You know, Kevin does those commercials, like Kevin from The Office, that actor, but he doesn't talk like Kevin. You know what I mean? He talks like himself. Yeah. Because like if he does that, he's gonna get sued by NBC Universal, because they own the rights to that character, just like Fox and Disney own the rights to Fry. So like you can't do that voice in any capacity outside of Futurama. Like you can do it for a fan or on a podcast just to joke around. But you can't like go into a commercial and be like sound like Fry and try to sell a product. You will get sued. Fun fact.
Yeah, I can see that, especially with something that distinct or unique. That doesn't shock me at all. But yeah, this will, I mean, again, like I said, the table read's supposed to be Monday, so we'll probably get more updates on the story very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about it again next week. But Greg, we have some more very timely news to talk about. This one just hit yesterday, I believe. So there's a little event in the movie world happening soon called the Oscars. And they just released all their nominations for all their awards: Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, Short Film, Animated, Documentary, you know, the whole nine. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but that's not really like the main reason we're talking about the Oscars. So there's kind of like been a conversation or narrative going. I don't know if you saw, Greg, but like after Spider-Man hit theaters, right? No Way Home in December, very widely liked by fans. It reviewed very well, and it came out that like Sony was gonna do an Oscar push, like they were gonna like market this thing and actually give it a push and submit it to be nominated for Best Picture. To which everybody was like, okay, yeah, you're gonna try to get Spider-Man Best Picture nominations. Good luck. And Oscar nominations came out, and unsurprisingly, it did not get a nomination. But I think given some of the movies that did get nominated, people are like, well, okay, hold on. Like, is it really that insane that they wanted Spider-Man to get nominated. And specifically, I'm referring to like Don't Look Up, which was the Adam McKay Netflix movie about like the end of the world. It's got like a crazy cast. Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill's in there, Katniss Everdeen, even Ariana Grande's in that movie. Kid Cudi, a bunch of people that got nominated for Best Picture. So I saw a couple people was like, I mean, you're telling me, like, does anyone really think that Don't Look Up was better than like Spider-Man, or even like Nightmare Alley, which didn't review well at all? I don't think. West Side Story got very middling reviews. People said one of the performances in there really shaky. Um, so it kind of started this interesting conversation about like Oscar type movies. Like there's certain kinds of movies that it's like it doesn't matter how good it is, like it's just not going to get an Oscar nomination. Like there's an argument to be made, like it doesn't matter how good Spider-Man No Way Home was, it could be the best superhero movie ever made. Like that movie didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting an Oscar nomination over your Meryl Streep movie or your Leonardo DiCaprio movie. And I don't know, I think that's an interesting conversation to have. It's something we've lightly touched on, but very relevant.
So it's also interesting because I don't think a lot of people understand how the Oscars work. It's not like a public poll that everyone. It's not like the MTV Choice Awards, right? Like that's not how that works. Like they send envelopes from the Academy called for your consideration, and basically it's all industry professionals. And I use that word very loosely because these things, like The Rock gets a vote, right? But because he's not really, you know what I mean? Like, why does The Rock get a vote for like best director? Like what? Like.
No, it's the Academy, which is made up of actors, directors, writers.
Yeah, industry professionals is what they say. Yeah. So and it's everybody. It's small and large. Like I mean, I knew when I was at my film school, like my teacher would get for your consideration envelopes, like to vote. Like if you're part of a union or you're part of the ACE, which is like the yacht club of like directors and editors and producers and stuff like that. You have to be invited because it's one of those private clubs. Like you get a vote, and that's who votes for these films. That's who gets nominated. It's not the public. You know, they don't do it by box office gross or popularity. It's by that. So if anyone was unclear, like now you know. Yeah. The more you know, right? Do. But no, you're right. Like it's funny because Jimmy Kimmel said that thing that people were mad that like that Spider-Man No Way Home got snubbed, and it's just like people were mad that Ghostbusters Afterlife got snubbed, and I'm like, look. I don't like award shows. Like I don't like Academy. I don't like the Academy Awards. I don't like the Oscars. Don't like the Emmys. I don't watch them. Right. Yep. But at the same time, these movies are meant to be challenging. They're supposed to challenge you. They're supposed to think out of the box. They're supposed to be different. Right. They're supposed to be like unique thought pieces, or sometimes like they can be entertaining or they can be both. Right. But like when you put like. Just because West Side Story didn't make any money doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad film. Just like when Twilight makes $11 billion at the box office doesn't mean it's a good film. It just means it didn't make money or it did make money. So where I'm going with this here is that Spider-Man No Way Home is a high-octane thrill ride that we've said it a million times on the show that's meant to entertain. You shut your brain off, you watch it. It doesn't do anything different. It doesn't do anything new. It's meant to be pure entertainment. You know, it doesn't push any envelopes, maybe in the visual effects department. But, like, that's really it. We're like, Don't Look Up. I had trouble watching that because it was so accurate to our portrayal of America. If you haven't seen Don't Look Up, watch it. If you can stomach watching it, because it's so disgustingly accurate about our society and our culture and what we value, what we do. And essentially, minor spoilers here, if you know nothing about it, our leaders and our celebrities, like Elon Musk and, like, they risk the extinction of mankind to try to like farm this meteor that's going to hit Earth. And you're like, that's so something we would do. Oh, it's full of gold? Yeah, fuck trying to derail it. We're going to let it hit. And then we're going to like just give you the rewards. It was so, my teeth were clenching. It was really cringe to watch because it was so accurate. And that's what made me really scared.
Yeah, no, I quite like Don't Look Up, despite what I said. But I don't know. I still push back. Like, I don't think Spider-Man No Way Home is like, you have to turn your brain off to enjoy it. I don't think that movie is like brain dead or incoherent. I think it's a very interesting story. I think there's emotional beats in there. There's parts of that movie that I think are compelling. And to Jimmy Kimmel's comment, he says where he's like, why does a movie have to be serious to be good? Like, I think Don't Look Up is great, and I'm not even mad it got nominated. But I just don't like the idea that it's like, if your movie isn't like deeply thought-provoking and profound on a level we haven't seen, then it doesn't deserve an Oscar. Like, why can't like a wildly entertaining, well-paced, enjoyable movie be nominated? Is kind of my thing. And again, I wasn't expecting Spider-Man to be nominated. I would have bet everything I owned that it wasn't going to happen. But I think it's worth bringing up, and it's interesting because like we talked about like the people in the Academy and how it's like a lot of it's like Hollywood elites and it's directors and writers and stuff. But like every year, the Academy gets younger and more diverse because they add people every year. You've got people like Mindy Kaling and Kumail Nanjiani joining the Academy like in recent years. So it's kind of that thing is like a lot of the older, more traditional members age out. Like you're getting a lot of young, diverse, fresh blood in. So I think like every year it's more likely that you see those kind of nominations. Like I don't even think that a movie like Don't Look Up doesn't get nominated in like 2010. Like that just doesn't happen. Um, but it's just kind of a sign of that progression. So I don't know. I think it's like on the table. You might see some more outside the box nominations down the road, but it just contributes to like a lot of the stereotypes that people have against the Oscars and the Academy, right? Where they're all up their own asses, and stuff like that. Like they have bias. I think like the biggest bias like anything that's like superhero based, and then like horror movies or like horror movies do not exist in the eyes of the Academy unless you're like Hereditary or Get Out or something that's psychological or again a high brow or thought provoking. And I know Denny's tuned in or mentioned here with a lot. He said the hard on they have for West Side Story is annoying.
Yeah,
I haven't seen West Side Story yet, but I've heard mixed things about it.
It is very weird. It's like Steven Spielberg is like old and kind of senile and like doing these weird things, and he's like getting like praised for it. And I'm like, well, like I mean, West Side Story was originally a Broadway play, right? And it's been adapted for. Not only has the original story been adapted multiple times, but the spin-offs and like everything else. West Side Story, for those who don't know, it's basically a Romeo and Juliet. That's what it is, right? That's William Shakespeare, a spin-off of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, right? Forbidden love, from two families. They can't be together, but they want to be together. And it's been told so much, and just because Steven Spielberg's behind the wheel doesn't mean it's going to be good. You know what I mean? We've seen him kind of fall off the wagon as like, you said all the time that I want to get that quote that you said and put it on a t-shirt and wear that t-shirt for the show. The absence of limitations stifles creativity. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Like if Steven Spielberg looked at studio in the eye and said, "I need $300 million to make this," I'd be like, "Fuck you!" Like you'll make it for $50 million, and that will make it even better. You know what I mean? Because you have to think about how to use that budget wisely. But I mean, looking at the list here, like these are all like there's a common thread. They're all dramas. Aside from Dune, they're all fairly. Maybe Nightmare Alley has a lot of visual effects, but like they're not visual effects super heavy. We're like Spider-Man No Way Home has about probably 10 pages of dialogue and like 900 pages of visual effects sequences. You know what I mean? Like it's like you said, they're thought pieces. They're captivating when two people are on screen just talking. Like if you're glued to the screen, the storyteller's doing their job. If you have to have a chase scene every 15 minutes, then obviously it's not as thought provoking. You know, if people are just doing crazy stuff on screen that's not even there, you know, they're not even, it's just CGI craziness. But I mean, like all these films I agree with, that except for West Side Story, because I was just like, I've heard nothing but bad things about that film. I don't know how that got nominated.
I've heard I heard West Side Story was like, I heard it looked very like gorgeous, but I just keep hearing that Ansel Elgort, who plays like the main dude, is like awful. I heard like his performance is just like not good, and he holds the movie back. But I don't know. I probably won't see because I don't care about West Side Story to begin with. Coda is on here, and I mentioned that in December in our like yearly wrap up show that was like my favorite movie of 2021, and it was, and I was excited to see it get nominated here.
Did any of these movies are any of these movies like Netflix produced, Hulu produced? I think
Don't Look Up.
Yeah, Don't Look Up
was a Netflix movie.
Then that's great. I love that they're snaking their way in there, like to compete with these like AAA bad boys. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that. How like Netflix originally was like everybody looked down on Netflix, and now people are like dying to work with them because Netflix gives you a fat check and lets you do whatever the hell you want.
You're able to experiment. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. Yeah. That's why I like those platforms so much better than AAA films, because they take risk. You know, like I guess the studio can't really afford to take a risk when a budget is like $350 million. I get it. Like I get that. You don't want to take a risk. You want to play it safe.
Netflix is already like wildly in debt as it is, so I guess to them it's like massive shrug. Oh,
we have like another story covering that later, but holy crap. But I mean all these look pretty good other than the Steven Spielberg nomination. I don't get it. Like the guy had his heyday. Like he's done. Like move on. You know what I mean? Like you can gracefully take your bow and like think about the tremendous accomplishments you made in your career choice and like kind of go off in the distance and have fun, with that stuff you did. Kevin Smith does that. Kevin Smith graciously bowed and was like, okay, like I did 3 bad movies, but let's do podcasts, let's do a comic show, let's try different things like that, and they just like fuck around and have fun.
3, though.
Right. He's another... Oh, you are. Oh yeah, he's doing Clerks 3. Clerks 2, I don't remember. Yeah. I remember saw it, but it was so forgettable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still really like Steven Spielberg. Obviously, he's a bit more hit or miss these days, but he's definitely in that point of his career where like everything he makes or is attached to is something that like he just really wants to make or that he wants to exist. Like he loves West Side Story, so like he just wanted to adapt it, so he did. And like I know he's got a movie that he just directed that's coming out, I think later this year. It's I forget what it's called, but it's like a semi-autobiography of like his story or like his life, and it's like slightly based, but it's just like a story. Like he wants to tell that story, so he's going to. And he's got every dollar and resource in the world to make it happen. Then he mentions The Green Knight not getting any makeup or visual effects. That's another one, right? Where it's like, I guess it's just like too outside the box to get noticed the way it probably deserves to.
There's like a in between, right? There's like, I mean, people used to call it Oscar bait, right? There's that, and then there's like on the other end of the spectrum, there's No Way Home, right? And then it seems like the Oscars are somewhere in the middle between those two things. Usually, and if you're really outside the spectrum like Green Knight, because I mean I've seen trailers for that, it looks really wonky, like that's probably just too outside the box for the Academy. They're like, what is this, you know what I mean? Like this is really art. There's like, it's almost like it's an like art cinema, right? Like I'm talking about like the cinemas you probably saw at film school where like it's the French director filming it orange and black and white, decomposing, and then cutting to like some person biting into like a rotting apple, like the noir true art film that there's no story, it's just a bunch of like obscene images. Like that stuff is never nominated. Maybe it was too artsy for the Academy,
Yeah, they definitely have a type, and it's a conversation that you just kind of just have every year when this stuff comes out, because a lot of it's not surprising, but it's still interesting nonetheless. I mean, we could definitely sit here and harp on all the different nominations all day, but I don't know, should probably move forward. Greg, why don't we just freaking do this and put on my boxing gloves, get ready for this next topic.
Okay, I'm recognizing less, because I'm so disconnected from Hollywood nowadays. I'm recognizing less and less actors, supporting actress, like these names I just don't recognize. It's crazy, like I just don't recognize them anymore.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing though, because it should be new names in there and some new blood, but yeah, I always try to catch up on some of the movies I haven't seen that are on here if they've gotten enough acclaim. Like I think Drive My Car is one I need to watch very soon. That's a Japanese film. But yeah, as I was mentioning here, I said I'm gonna put my gloves on because I know and Greg knows that this next topic will probably be a bit heated because folks, today they released a trailer for a new movie coming out this year, just a handful of months actually, called Jurassic World Dominion. As the title implies, it is the latest entry in the Jurassic Park franchise. Greg's not going to play the actual trailer. He'll show you a Family Guy clip.
It's going to get immediately flagged. That's why I'm not playing it, because I.
That's fair. That's fair. They are going to flag every trailer we show. Are we going to have to like snake our way around every movie? Or
no, I'll find a still. I'll find a still and I'll put it up. But
no. I mean, no, you're good. I was just throwing a jab, but yeah.
But so no, it's funny because we both woke up this morning and we had two just completely adverse reactions. Where your day was turning out great and my day went to shit, and I think that's hilarious. Like we just have two different, completely, which is what makes this show great. Like we have two completely different viewpoints, right? We agree on some things, but not everything, and that's what makes it interesting. So sorry, go ahead and do your the trailer.
Yeah. There you go. Danny, you would think so. Danny said it shouldn't get flagged because it's reaction content. Y'all are on screen. Yeah, you would really think so. I agree, but I don't think the YouTube algorithm bots see it that way.
I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah, also that. But no, yeah, enough like teasing the topic. The new Jurassic World Dominion trailer came out today. It's the first trailer for the new Jurassic World movie. Comes out this June. The trailer kind of shows you just a
scene where like the raptor gets tricked into like thinking there's someone in the bed, and he gets angry. I'm like, animals don't get angry when they figure out like they've been duped. Like what? Like he rails in anger and he tries to get out. And I'm like, I was like, what?
That's because the raptors are intelligent, as they established in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but like
they were opening doors.
But they do that thing in this movie. The scene that's where I turned it off, because I just thought
obviously bringing back the big three of Dr. Sattler, Dr. Grant, and Dr. Malcolm. That's obviously what you're preying on. But also, like, I don't think it's all that bad. Like, I don't think it's like the greatest sin in film that they're preying on nostalgia. Like, it's really cool. It's exciting. Like I think the original Jurassic Park was great because it was a great like popcorn blockbuster, but it also did have like a lot of those like interesting themes about like mankind playing God. This is what happens when you try to like force like your will and creation, and like this is where like a lot of this technology can go bad when it falls into like greedy hands. And yeah, a lot of those themes have like become thinner and thinner throughout the series. But I don't think the series is worth this. I think it's still like is for all the commentary in the original. When I watch Jurassic Park, I'm still like the most excited when they're running from dinosaurs. When the T-Rex gets loose and they're hauling ass and hiding around corners, those are like the heart pumping moments, and it's exciting. So I see the new one, and I fucking love Laura Dern. So yeah, I'm excited that she's in the movie. Same thing with Sam Neill, Dr. Malcolm, Chris Pratt. I'm not a big Chris Pratt fan these days. I liked him a lot in 2015 when the first one came out, but like even him, like I'm not mad he's in it. It'll be fine. But I don't know. I push back against the idea where it's like, oh, turning my brain off for 2 hours. Like, no, my brain won't be turned off when I go see Jurassic World Dominion because I love watching people run from dinosaurs and get ripped to fucking shreds.
But that's what the trailer is. Like, it's like 8 chase scenes in that trailer, 8 different separate chase scenes of them running from dinosaurs because nobody brings a gun in these movies.
Hey, I mean, they've shot those damn dinosaurs. That Indominus Rex is like fucking bulletproof. But I don't know. I mean, I think the gimmick. I genuinely think the gimmick of like dinosaurs in our real world is actually interesting. Like genuinely, I really do. Because all these movies have been people on like an island that's like tropical with palm trees running from dinosaurs. But I think it's cool that like there was like the sailors on the ship. It looks like Deadliest Catch where they've got like the crabs or whatnot and thing, and they lift it up and this huge ass dinosaur comes up and grabs it. Or like the scene where the construction workers are out and like the brontosaurus comes and they've got to like stop everything, or the people at the movie theater where like the T-Rex comes bramped. I think that stuff's actually kind of interesting. And it's funny because like when you see Jurassic Park, the conversation is like, oh my god, what would you do in that situation? Like, what would you do if you were on Jurassic Park? And it kind of like, it seems like that's the idea, is like throwing that question to everybody, like, what would you do if you didn't have a choice? Like if there were velociraptors in your backyard, or you had these deadly creatures hunting you down.
I'd have a gun. Like, first of all, like I can't believe how like none of these characters ever bring guns to these.
Full Turok.
They don't bring guns.
You could go full Turok. I mean, I know what I would do. Yeah, I would have every
firearm to protect you from these dinosaurs. Here's the thing too. Like, I don't like, they brought, like Denny says, like they brought the old cast coming back. Like, why? Like, what are these two characters bringing to the film? Like, nothing. Like they're not. They're archaeologists. You know what I mean? They're useless. Yeah. Have you not seen Jurassic World 3? They're useless. They're Jurassic Park 3. They don't know how to do anything. Like, why are they back? What sort of expertise are they going to offer? They're not military. They're not tactical. Like, they're there just for the member berries. And that just is so lazy to me. Like, come on. Like,
I mean, no, yeah. I think, no. Story-wise, you're right. You're 100% right. I think the reason they're in the movie is because it's the end of this trilogy, and it's really cool to have them. I mean that's really the answer, because it's really cool to have everybody there together.
That's why they're in the movie. That's why, right there. Leo's showing you why they're in the movie, so people can do that in the theater and be like, "Hey, they were in the 3 movies I saw in the 90s."
No, but I mean that's it though. It's because it's really cool to have them there, and as a fan, it's great to see them. Same thing with like Ghostbusters, and I know that it kind of skewed your perception on it, but it's like, why are they bringing back all the old Ghostbusters? Because it's great to have them back, because you love the Ghostbusters, and it's cool to see them. And I mean, yeah, we can talk about like, oh, it's because the studio just wants money, and it's like, yeah, that's true, but it's also like, if you want to be cynical, we can say that about every movie that comes out, whether it's your indie or your blockbuster.
Well, that's the thing though. It's that rare occasion of everything working together. Like Jurassic Park 93. Jurassic Park 93. Yeah. Right, it wasn't just that it was a Steven Spielberg production and it was a high budget and had a bunch of AAA actors in it for the 90s, which there weren't many that AAA. I mean, Sam Neill I think was pretty big, and I think Dr. Malcolm was pretty big at the time, but like they weren't like huge, right? They weren't like Arnold Schwarzenegger level celebrity, but it was we talk about this all the time, like with Star Wars, right? It wasn't the characters or the dialogue that makes it famous. It's the production. It's the techniques they used. And Jurassic Park 93 was a turning point in filmmaking, period. Like, they had mixed CGI with animatronics, and they had done groundbreaking things in terms of animatronics, but the T-Rex, like, itself was, like, there. It was on screen, right? And that's why that movie holds up so well, because not only is everything working together simultaneously to make a perfect film, like a really great film, they're doing all these new things that no one had ever done before. This movie is not doing anything new. It's just throwing CGI dinosaurs at the screen with way too many chase scenes. Like, Can't you just have 2? Why do you have to have like 8 in your movie? Like they're running from like 8 different dinosaurs at 8 different times in the trailer, and that's too much running. They run in the first one too, but like it's just good lord. I think it's like once or twice. Like they have the wide shots of everyone running. I just can't. It just boggles my mind. Like that's the difference between like Jurassic Park '93 and Jurassic World 3: The End of the World. Like I can't. My mind can't be like, why? Like why are you doing this? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but again, to me, this goes back to like, it just doesn't need to be as good as the original. Like, it doesn't have to be as profound as the original. Like, that's fine. It can just be an enjoyable movie. Like, if I go see it and it's enjoyable and it's exciting and there's like funny moments and cool parts of it, like that's good. It does. I don't know.
For it to look really good, and I think it's just a little overkill. Like, if you need all these action sequences to tell your story, then you're failing as a writer and you're failing as a director. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be about the characters. Crushes really hard on the action. It's great action, but that's what he crushes on. So the story and the characters tend to suffer. Fast and the Furious crush on the chase scenes. So the characters and the story suffer because it's just all about the car chases and the car action.
I think like 14, 13 days is the last Friday of the month. And we haven't decided what we'll be watching this month, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to probably narrow down like 3 or 4 options. And maybe we'll put out like a Twitter poll or even like a Twitch poll and let people decide. And last time we went pretty classic with Spaceballs, like 80s comedy. Who knows? Maybe we go a little modern. Maybe we do another throwback. Maybe we watch a thought-provoking Oscar bait movie, or maybe we'll watch a CGI high-octane thrill ride. There's actually a lot to dig through on that.
There is
that catalog. So
I don't want to watch Firestorm though. Please God, I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch a bad movie that was bad. You know what I mean? Like a bad movie that's clearly bad, but it's like it's one of those movies where it's so bad people think it's good 30 years later, but it's fundamentally bad. Howie Long, you know what I mean? They started to throw him in movies and it just was not working.
I've never seen Firestorm, but Krabs literally just messaged me yesterday about watching that movie, so it's funny you mentioned that. But I'll have to we'll look into it. We'll find something. Obviously, we don't want to be miserable, so we're not going to find something unenjoyable for us both to watch for 2 hours.
I like the idea that we switch a movie you haven't seen, a movie I've seen, a movie I haven't seen, and we kind of go back and forth. I kind of like that. So maybe since you saw Spaceballs last time and I'd seen it, maybe you could pick out a movie that I haven't seen yet. I mean, I'm still getting caught up. Like, there's so much media. I mean, we always give you crap for not seeing certain lightning in a bottle films, but there's so much content out there. There's no way you can ingest it all. I'm watching Time Cop for the first time this Friday. You know what I mean? I've never seen that movie. I've heard great things about it. I've never seen, but my friend was like, "Oh, you need to watch that." So I'm like, "Okay, I will watch it on Friday." Like, you know, so I'm getting caught up too. We all have a backlog, you know.
Man, these days it's crazy. There's just too much stuff that comes out. Like, there's shows and movies that I look at, I'm like, damn, that looks really good. I really want to see that. And I just don't do it because there's so much stuff out. Like, so many video games, and that's not a thing, but like, there's so many games, TV shows, movies. Like, what's like All of Us Are Dead is I believe it's a Korean show on Netflix. It's like a zombie survival thing, but people are saying it's like really good. And I believe it's really good. And I'm like, I just want to find like 8 hours to watch that show. But I've been watching like other movies and watching shows and stuff, and I was watching Peacemaker yesterday, and I'm like, man, this is
it's hard too, because at the end of the day, after your long work days, after the 12-hour work days, you don't want to sit down on the couch and challenge yourself with a thought-provoking intellectual piece. You do want to like have just a relaxing time, so you're gonna throw on Knives Out. I'm gonna throw on Ghostbusters. I'm gonna throw on stuff you've seen a million times because it's a nice romp of nostalgia. It like relaxes you. Like, you don't want to have to like hear everything that's happening in the dialogue or else to get lost. Like, you know, so like I totally get it. I totally get like people wanting to be in their comfort zone and wanting to see the things that they want to see. But at the same time, like, don't let that sway you from watching new things. I mean, I was trying. I sold someone on Veronica Mars yesterday. I was at a friend's house, and he was like, "I'm like, you ever seen Veronica Mars?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Dude, you should watch Veronica Mars. Like, it's a really good show." Like, you know what I mean? And I totally up-talked it. But like, have you ever seen Veronica Mars, Donovan? That would be right in your wheelhouse for age range, right?
I saw pieces of it. I really like Kristen Bell, but I've only seen like bits and pieces of episodes that I would catch like flipping through channels. I'm familiar with the show, but I couldn't tell you X, Y, and Z about it for sure now. But yeah, and that's another one. But again, folks, this all goes back to our Pop Goes the Culture movie nights, which, you know, if you like those and you want to support us here, you should really subscribe to the channel. We have some fun, exciting conversations on here. And if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, that means you can not only watch movie nights with us, but you can even subscribe to our channel at no additional cost. You can use your Prime Gaming subscription, which is no additional dollar out of your pocket. Good old Bezos bucks, throw them our way. as the graphic says, you should also follow us. We're on Facebook at Shack News if you're still on that hell site. Shack News Media on Instagram, Shack News on Twitter, Shack News Games on YouTube, Gamer Hub videos. See a lot of Greg's interview content on there, even like unboxings and stuff. There's not just movie, TV, collectibles, gaming content, really the whole shebang over there. And of course, our mothership is shacknews.com. That's where you'll see articles. You might even catch my name on that website every now and then.
You might catch his name.
Yeah, that's where it all comes together, baby. And we're just happy to have you watching and reading, if nothing else. Greg, this next topic is interesting. I mean, we were just talking about nostalgia, and I don't know about you, how much you cared or didn't care about the franchise, but like, I have a good amount of nostalgia for Goosebumps, which Goosebumps is getting a new show. A live action series for Goosebumps has been confirmed in the works at Disney Plus. Maybe they've given concrete details about it. I'm not sure if R.L. Stine is involved, but as soon as I saw that news, I was like, man, that original Goosebumps show was very good. If they could capture that kind of like playful creepiness, that'd be a really dope.
Well, like they were scary. They were actually like, and they were meant for the books are for very young readers. They're one of the first books I ever started to read, and they were good books. And then they started adapting the books into short episodes, like the haunted mask, Curse of the Haunted Mask, right? Like I remember that episode being particularly scary, and like for kids, like it's pretty scary, like, and like
yeah.
And then of course in 2015 they had the Goosebumps live action movie, which was the most piece of garbage thing I've ever fucking seen. Like it was just garbage. It was Jack Black screaming running away from CGI monsters. It was not scary at all. It was so lowest common denominator. I couldn't get through it. It's so bad. That's not what Goosebumps is. Like Goosebumps is that series. It's that books, right? I'm hoping that they have a darker tone for the thing. Not even a darker tone, just a more adult. Like give kids a little bit of credit. You know what I mean? Like kids can handle some stuff sometimes. Like they don't have to. It doesn't have to be murdering blood everywhere, but it doesn't have to be like Jack Black obnoxiously screaming at bad CGI garden gnomes chasing him either. Find that balance. Find that. And do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Goosebumps was so amazing, because it was like definitely it was written for kids, young adults, and it hit like that teen comedy and stuff. But it was like one of the very few pieces of like young adult / children's media that didn't treat kids like babies or like idiots.
Yeah.
Where it was like the world's a scary place, kids. Like here's a little taste of like how scary the world can be. And I remember like reading those books in the library, like not even like even when I wouldn't check them out, just like flicking to like a random page in the book and like reading a couple like excerpts and being like, oh, okay, that's creepy shit. Like I remember like Night of the Living Dummy with Slappy the doll, which is like probably at this point like the most popular Goosebumps story, and how many times they like brought that one back. And it's so creepy. And then like even the show, like that intro theme, which obviously we can't play because we'll get DMCA'd the hell from it, but like just hearing that and seeing it, like even the TV adaptation that used to air, it captured it perfectly, where it was like it was great for kids, but even watching it, like I felt like creeped out watching that show. But it wasn't like grotesque, it wasn't over the top, it wasn't gratuitous. It was very well balanced. And,
yeah,
I mean,
you can make something for that. Yeah, you can make something for kids and adults to enjoy. Like it just takes effort. You know what I mean? Like much more effort than the 2015 Goosebumps movie made. I mean, like you play to your tropes, right? But the problem is sometimes there's writers that want to change those tropes and try to take different viewpoints on them, and there's people who just go full fart in. They don't care. Let's write this in. It's a paycheck. Let's get this done. And that's one of the reasons why Scooby-Doo is so good, because that movie should have been terrible. Should have been fundamentally bad. Like, I'm surprised James Gunn to be like, fuck it, whatever, it's a paycheck, right? But he like sat down and was like, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make this interesting and funny and different. And he like, and it's a gem. Like, that's one way to say it. That movie should not have worked on any level. And it was great. Like, it was slapstick, but that's what Scooby-Doo was slapstick. Goosebumps was never slapstick to me. Like, and that movie was all slapstick humor and all CGI and all CGI chase scenes too. The mantis and the bugs and the werewolf and the yeti. And just like, my God, like pick a lane.
They treated like all the monsters from like the Goosebumps catalog like Pokemon kind of. It was kind of like here's everybody, where it's like it was cool to see Slappy the Clown, but I was like, damn, it would have been also really cool if he was like actually scary in this, or if you had him like creeping out this kid that's parents wouldn't believe them that the doll was coming alive. Danny has a comment that I think is really interesting. I wanna ask him about if he's still listening to me. He said, "That's why I was disappointed that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie." See, I felt the opposite. I kind of like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I thought that movie they did a couple years ago, I thought it actually had like some really creepy moments.
It did.
Like I forget the name of the story, but the woman in the hallway that's like slowly walking and getting closer. That scene was like really creepy, and it felt like claustrophobic. Where the kid's just like he has nowhere to go, and then at the end she just like grabs him and he dies presumably. That's it. Like he doesn't like get out. No one like busts through a wall and like picks him up. Like it's just like this grueling suffering that he goes through for like 5 minutes, waiting for her to get to him, and then she does.
Yeah, and
or even like the good.
There's a mystery there too. Like the whole thing is like, how is this? Why is this happening? Why are all these stories coming? Like they're figuring it out, right? Where like in the 2015 Goosebumps movie, it's just like, oh, we need to all get them back in the book. Mystery solved in the first act. They all came from this crazy magical book. We need to get them back in. Like it's that's the difference, right? Is it's a lighthearted, like slapstick movie to like a mystery, like almost a whodunit type of thing. Like why is this? Like who owned this book? What was this woman? Why was she locked in this room? Like it's feeding you this mystery and you're solving it with these kids. And not only forget Matt, but R.L. Stine did Fear Street. Fear Street was amazing. Like,
Fear Street is so good.
Like it was awful. It was awesome.
Yeah, and that's not like kids like kid humor. That's just like horror.
Yeah.
Fear Street is like straight up like violent, but no, Fear Street is so good on Netflix. And the fact that those movies, they made 3 movies and they came out back to back Fridays, consecutive weeks. That's like the brilliance of like streaming stuff. Like you could not do that. Could you imagine if they released a trilogy of movies in theater over the course of like 3 weeks? It'd be a disaster. It wouldn't work. But like you can do that shit on Netflix and it worked beautifully. But the last thing I'll say about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I give them, the filmmakers, writers, and directors, like a hell of props for the way they end that movie. And I'm gonna like spoil the end, but like obviously like a couple of the kids get like killed throughout the movie. At the end, like they save the day, they vanish the evil or whatnot, and things return to normal. But like the kids do not come back.
No.
Like the 2 main kids that like died, they're just gone. Like she's leaving and like the sun's out, but it's like just her and her brother, and she's like, hopefully we can like figure out what happened to like Johnny and Tommy, but like yeah, they're gone. And I'm like, damn. And that's like the end of the movie. Most movies they would have like magically floated back down from the clouds.
Right.
They would have like had that warm moment, but it's like, no, kids, they got killed.
There's also that twist at the end too. There's that really good twist because the whole movie you're led to believe something, and at the end it turns it on its head, and you're like, holy crap! Like I didn't realize that, and it's really, I love that twist. It was really, really satisfying and really interesting. And like you can make a good movie if you try. Like that's the whole theme I think we're trying to get here in this section.
Yeah.
Scary Stories.
Scary
Stories and Fear Street.
The Scary Stories movie. Fear Street is great though. I'm curious though if Danny or Blake saw Fear Street, because those movies are really good. And I particularly like the first one. I think it was 1997, because that one had all the like slasher vibes. They had like the opening that kind of was like a throwback to almost like felt like Scream, that opening sequence in the mall. It's very good, and they do like psychological horror in there. They do like a Friday the 13th kind of riff in the site. It's very well done.
And there's visual effects in there, and they're done tastefully,
I'm too scared.
And they're done tastefully, and they're not in overabundance. You know, like they use them when they feel they need to use them, and sometimes not seeing it. Like my mantra is for every film is less is more. You know, and like so many directors don't follow that mantra. Like that's my main thing. And Fear Street and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was less and more. There's CGI effects and special effects in that too, but they're done so well, and they're done in such small increments. Is just enough. You know, like the scene where they're having where they're listening to the tape recorder about the sister, right? Like you're glued to the screen. There's nothing happening but them listening. Like, and that's what I think separates like really good films from just like octane thrills. You know what I mean? Like you can be glued to the screen just like 2 people talking. You know, be like telling everyone to shush in the room so you can hear what's happening on the tape recorder. You know what I mean? Because you're really involved. You know, I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And to kind of steer back to like this Goosebumps show that's coming to Disney Plus,
right?
It's live action. They have a little bit about the show. It says, and I believe they're talking about this new adaptation. It says the series follows a group of 5 high schoolers who unleash supernatural forces upon their town and must work together thanks to and in spite of their friendships, blah blah blah, in order to save it. Learning about their secrets, blah blah, in the past. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that description because it sounds like the movie.
It's also Sony, and which who did the movie, so I think you're just gonna get the Jack Black experience, but over 8 episodes instead of 1 2-hour block.
Yeah, I understand like if it's gonna be a series, you want it to have like a continuous story, and that means you have to have like the same characters and stuff. Because obviously, like, the original Goosebumps show was like anthology. It wasn't typically it wasn't returning characters or creatures except for in very special circumstances. It was a random thing every time. Clearly, they just don't want to go anthology again. I guess it's a bit of a been there, done that situation. I would have loved that this was just another anthology made with modern, like I guess like modern commentary. Like I don't know, like you could do like a modern anthology Goosebumps, and it could almost be like Black Mirror for teenagers or like for young adults. Like that'd be really cool. And you could play on like a lot of those like modern fears and stuff. But I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm not.
I don't think you're gonna get
I'm
that,
not a
man. The
filmmaker.
guy producing this show made the 2 Goosebumps movies, so you're not gonna get that at all. You're gonna get
Oh
slapstick
really?
CGI garbage. Like that's what you're gonna get. Like because it's Sony.
Interesting.
Sony, and it's
Mm,
Neil Moritz is his name, who produced the 2 Goosebumps movies. They're like, again, it comes down to think, just because the movie
that's
made money doesn't mean it was good. It means exactly that, made money. And Goosebumps 1 and 2 made money
mm,
because parents would take their 3 kids to watch the movie, and they could just be like, thank God they'll be quiet as Jack Black screams and runs from everything. Like, like it's more
yeah.
Scooby Doo than
Cool.
Goosebumps. Like, have you seen the Goose? I saw the first one. I didn't see the second one, but the first, it's like Scooby Doo is better than
I
that. Like,
I saw some of the first one, but it just I knew before it came out. I was like, this isn't gonna be for me. Like even as somebody, I love Goosebumps to death, but I knew from the market, I was like, this is not. I'm not the intended audience for this, which I guess is fine.
it's
But said
4-year-olds
teens and
too.
why don't need black.
4-year-olds who needs
Don't need Black Mirror
babysitters
right
on
now.
Netflix to turn Disney Plus on. Here, watch this for 2 hours. I gotta go clean the
Yeah,
house.
it leaned way too much into like the humor of it all, which is fine. Blake said kids don't need Black Mirror right now. Shit's
No, they
Saturday.
don't. They
That's also
don't.
fair. I won't disagree. I don't think anybody needs Black Mirror right now because I think the real life stories are probably Black Mirror enough uh, for everything. But but yeah, man, good old Goosebumps. I don't know. I mean, I'm not super optimistic about the show, but we'll learn more once they start releasing trailers and stuff. It'll be very easy to tell. Like, is this gonna be for me or not? And I'm sure we'll talk about it when that time comes. Greg, we've got one more series, another series coming to that same platform to talk about here. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a show that we've known was in existence for like a couple of years at this point. They announced it like early pandemic, delays, set secrets and stuff. We know Ewan McGregor's coming back. Uh, I know they cast like Kumail Nanjiani's going to be in there. A couple of other actors. I think Hayden Christensen's coming back. People have been wondering when the show's coming out, and they finally announced comes out on May 25th, and they released a poster in which Obi-Wan looks like Jesus walking in the desert, the sands
My
of the
grandma has
desert.
this picture on top of her mantle. I think next to this picture next to the cross.
Somebody posted a screenshot where they sent that to their grandmother, and they were like, they're like, he is all powerful, and she was like, Amen. I have to send it to you, but that's like that's so messed up, man. That's hilarious.
So
But
I have lots of thoughts about this for one, but two, can we talk about Book of Boba Fett for a second because I think it's important and relevant to this conversation.
we can.
Mandal-
I mean, I'm gonna review it at the end here, but yeah. Go
so
ahead.
Mandalorian comes out, blows everything out of the water
Wait,
because
wait, hold on. Before you get into Boba Fett, I don't want to do the spoiler thing because the final episode just came out
I haven't
yesterday or
I
whatnot.
haven't watched any of it. I'll watch it when it's all done and like
Yeah,
finished,
no,
right?
you know, watched it, but it came out, it finished yesterday.
I've
But
seen
I
I've
don't know
seen
what
the
you.
rage of like the Rainbow Riders and like some of the stuff people are really
Oh,
pissed
okay.
about the Cade fight. Like they're really like they make Boba Fett really inept, and I'm like, well, did you not see him in the original trilogy? He kind of was inept. like the people are mad. There's that great meme I saw that my friend sent me. It was like people with Boba Fett tattoos are mad that he's not as badass as he was, or something like that. It was just like, because you mean like it's a political drama first of all, and then but then they do weird stuff like the Rainbow Riders, and like the hardcore Boba Fett fans just hate that shit so much. And the Cade fight, like they got so mad, and just they're fumbling. They're doing it. I think they might be doing something too fast. I don't know, and I know this got postponed for that very reason because they were rushing things out too quickly, and they had to slow the fuck down because
Yeah.
things weren't being
Oh,
perceived well or produced well or whatever.
Denny, you're talking my language. I think everybody's taking this shit too seriously. I think everybody could chill the fuck out. But that's another conversation. I'll definitely get into that later. But I'm right there with you, sir. My opinion that I apply that logic to like everything people argue about in movies and TV nowadays. But yeah. I don't know. I mean, everyone hates the like prequel movies, understandably so. But I think it's also like widely understood that like Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan is like probably like among the better, like the redeemable parts of that series.
He
So
does do a good job. Like he really does
yes,
channel Sir Alec Guinness. He really does. Like he does a really good job.
yes, it's not surprising that they're bringing him back for this. Me growing up a 2000s baby, I love Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. Hello there was my whole jam. So
And
I don't know. I'm looking forward
nobody
to.
fires one gun. Everyone stares. And I'm like, what? He's surrounded by droids. Nobody fires a gun. And they just watch as they kill their general. It was the dumb, like, but that's just bad writing. That's Lucas not knowing how to write. You know what I mean? That's not any fault of the actor.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? Like,
you're good. And I don't know. I hesitated to put this on our run of show because I really don't want to get into the Star Wars review thing because I just we've done it to death. We know everybody hates Star Wars. I just thought this was a very timely news story that dropped. I figured it was worth mentioning on our show.
But like the question is, Donovan, do we need to see Obi-Wan solving mysteries on Tatooine between Episode 3 and New Hope? Like, do we need that? Did we need that story being told? Is it just going to anger Star Wars fans? I mean, we don't know, right?
We don't need it, no. And will it anger Star Wars fans? Yes, because Star Wars fans will be angry at everything, and they deserve to be angry. But also, we also didn't need to know what happened before A New Hope. We didn't need to know what happened after Return of the Jedi, but we found out, didn't we? So
we found out, didn't we?
So I mean, it's really it's just the fact of the matter. It's a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and we're gonna learn more about it every year, or not. If you don't choose to watch, you won't learn anything, which is also fine. That works perfectly well. But I think its release date is like the 45th anniversary of A New Hope coming out, which is pretty wild. That movie is like that old now. That's a movie that holds up quite well. But I thought it would be interesting to bring our news roundup to a close with that. And Greg, we've got a couple of segments, but I wanted to ask you. I actually forgot to ask you earlier. Have you seen anything recently that you want to review? Maybe any movies, any shows that you want to talk about? Anything you're dying to get off of your chest?
I'm trying to think if I saw any. I think because I have been trying to expand my horizons to watch different things with my wife because we were trying to find just new things to watch, so we're not rewatching The Office again, or we're not rewatching Veronica Mars or anything like that. I'm trying to think, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. No, I'll give over my review of Time Cop next week because I've never seen that, and I'm watching it Friday.
Yeah, Time Cop. That's the one that's a movie that's like notoriously bad, right? Like everybody hated it.
I don't know. I want to say it's like peak Van Damme. Like Time Cop was like one of the he did like 3 really good films, like Bloodsport, Time Cop, and then one other one, right? Like then he kind of went the way of, just an action. He just kind of fell off the radar for a bit. I mean, like I've never seen it. I've never seen Time Cop. I know very little about it. So I mean, I'm going in completely neutral. So
I haven't seen Time Cop, but I watched a video essay on it. I don't know if you know the reviewer, like Chris Stuckman. He does a lot of like online movie review stuff. He did like a half an hour video talking about Time Cop a couple years ago that I really liked. Blake, see, I heard Murderville was good, but it goes back to our point earlier where it's like there's just so much content out. Like there's a brilliant show that's out right now that none of us are watching. Like it's just too much. Like Murderville's on my radar. I just talked about watching it with my friends the other day.
Oh, I did watch the first episode of Murderville.
It's a lot of
that. I mean, not the whole thing though.
Okay, what'd you think of it? What streaming service is it on?
It's Netflix.
Okay, is Netflix got there?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but the thing is that the problem with those types of films is I don't know, because the whole concept is like everyone has a script, but the guest star, right? Which is interesting concept, but I don't know how much of that is true. It could be just a flat out lie. You know what I mean? Like, hey, he doesn't have a script, but he really does. I don't know. I don't know. But if it is true, it is funny. It still is funny. I just don't like when people lie to people and say yeah, it's real. It's reality television. It's all real. And it's no, it's not. Some of it's not. This could be real. It seems like it's real. They do hire a lot of really good actors that are not really good guest stars that are really good at improv. Like Conan O'Brien's really good at improv. So I could believe that it is real. But I can never tell. But I do enjoy it. It is funny.
Yeah. Here I think Blake wants to stomp in.
He's only had to come in because I only want him to get his opinion on the Rainbow Riders. On a scale of 1 to 10, how awesome are the Rainbow Riders, Blake?
I do not want to do a Boba Fett review.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Donovan? I've only seen pictures, and I was laughing so hard. I'm like, what is this?
I saw the show, and if you guys do a Boba Fett review, I'm going to leave. And you guys can man the rest of the show.
I haven't seen a single episode of Boba Fett's rise to political power. All I've seen is the rage.
You're fine. I feel like I have to put my warning out there here. How do we need to do this? Do we need to like do a link call or whatever so you can talk about murder mystery or Murderville? Because we're in our friendly call. Here, you want to just switch to Shacknews streaming or live streaming for a few?
Yeah, we'll do Shacknews office. We'll be right back.
Hello.
Camera on.
All right.
Yeah. So Murderville. Did you watch the whole thing, or are you?
I have one episode left to go, and yeah, it's hilarious. It's freaking hilarious. It is absolutely improv, Greg. And the thing that you need to recognize is they're doing a ton of improv exercises in most of those scenes, right?
I know it was improv.
And yeah. Well, everyone has a script, but the special guest.
Guest, yeah, that's the whole.
And there's there's a through arc. Will Arnett is like the main character, and he's training a different like homicide detective each week. So the first episode they did is Conan O'Brien, and it's great because Conan O'Brien can do whatever the hell he wants, right?
He's very good at improv. Yeah, he's very quick on his feet. Yeah. But
the second episode is ridiculous, and it's freaking hilarious because it's Marshawn Lynch, and he's not an actor at all.
Wait, Marshawn Lynch was on there?
yeah, dude. Beast Mode he's hilarious. He's super funny, but he definitely doesn't have like improv chops, right? He doesn't necessarily get like everything that's going on. Sharon Stone like is a great episode too because Sharon Stone she's just kind of a bitch the whole time and it works really, really well. You mentioned Kamal Nanjiani is doing something earlier. Yeah, he's also on it, and his episode is particularly good. But yeah, there's like little clues and things like that, so you can try and figure out the murder as you go along. But yeah, it's pretty damn hilarious. Like they just set up these like very like ridiculous and awkward situations and things that work towards improv stuff, like singing a song at the same time as another person is like a pretty common improv practice, and they do that with a couple of them. Sharon Stone and Will Arnett performing surgery like on this body that just starts like bleeding like crazy. And almost every episode has the one where they have an earpiece. Will Arnett has an earpiece in the guest's ear and is telling them what to say, and they have to act it out.
Yeah, that was the name was funny. Like, the name was like Bergerson. I'm sorry, Field, Bergerson Field. He makes the last name longer and longer. Yeah. It's just really good. It's one of the better things I've seen on Netflix in a while, and there's like there's a story arc going through it too, kind of, but just for the most part, it's just all about like getting in there and improving and having a good time, and it's definitely worth a watch if you haven't watched it. I just wanted to for sure. I just wanted to come because it's new and it seems like something you all should talk about. So I just wanted to drop in and give it a shout out.
Definitely appreciate you putting on my radar. I'll definitely check it out. Netflix, that's good. Yeah, are they short episodes or long? Like,
yeah, they're pretty short. Or? It's like 30 or 45 minute episodes. Yeah, they're all worth watching. Annie Murphy is really good. She does a great job. And she probably has the most like ridiculous over the top stuff that she has to do too. Also checked out that new Vox Machina, the Critical Role show.
Yeah, I've been watching that as well.
I'm pretty lukewarm. It feels like everybody's D&D adventure ever, with like all the tropes and stuff like that. Like the writing is like it just feels like a D&D campaign, and I think they should have stepped that up or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, aren't they? They're under fire right now because I remember a journalist called them out for not having a diverse enough cast because it's a bunch of like they're not diverse enough. I'll put it that way. Like I remember reading an article this week that said that basically attacked a little bit of an attack.
Yeah, I saw something that came out. I mean, yeah, they're all white. I mean, on the new campaign they have Robbie, which I think he's like Hispanic or something. But yeah, I've heard the criticisms. I've been liking Vox Machina so far. I'm a big Critical Role watcher, but I haven't really brought it up on this show much myself. But
how do you think it compares to Critical Role?
I don't know. I mean, the campaign. I always enjoy watching the campaigns themselves the most. I think that's where you get like a lot of the like fun, nuanced stuff. I think the biggest enjoyment I get out of it is just seeing like those characters come to life after seeing them like on the printed page and stuff. Which, admittedly, like that appeal isn't there if you didn't watch the campaign. So I can understand like that's like a weak spot of the show, but
I don't really care. I mean, I noticed the little inside things that are obviously like part of character development, and I think like a lot of the throwbacks that they mention are from previous campaigns or something. I'm guessing, you know, like when they talk about their like grossest kills or whatever, or the weirdest like kills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean,
like,
who doesn't want
adventures that they've been on?
I mean, who doesn't want have somebody sitting in their D&D session and then being like, I'm going to animate all of what you do in this session. Like, that's incredible. Like, that's everyone's dream, right? That's insane. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to compare, I would compare it to Harmon Quest, though. And Harmon Quest was just better, I think, so far. Like, the animation wasn't as good, but it was, like, you take the recorded improv sessions that they had done live as part of Dan Harmon's podcast, and then they animated that and had like special like guests each week, so you get more of the improvisational aspects of actually playing D&D from that, and it was just also more enjoyable. I think this show doesn't balance the humor with the gravitas very well. Like a lot of the humor just feels like dick and fart jokes, and it doesn't necessarily like have any context with what's going on. It's just like, hey, check us out, we do dick and fart jokes, sort of. Yeah, I mean, if like everybody doing the campaign is a bunch of white people, that's really on Prime for deciding to buy that. I don't know, like if they didn't diversify in the ancillary cast, that's kind of fucking weak. But I feel like that's an issue. I feel like that's an issue that faces a lot of fantasy stuff in particular. Like,
God, did you see the Lord of the Rings stuff? All the racist bullshit with the Lord of the Rings show.
Yeah, it's like everyone's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe there are 2 black people in the Lord of the Rings," and it's like, "Wow, man." I don't know. I don't know if the
people
idea,
show their true colors very easily and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think more shit just needs to be blind casted. I think shit works out a lot better when stuff goes that way. I think saying, "Oh, we can't have black people in a show because it takes place in like an European Anglo-centric fantasy world" is kind of dumb. Yeah, that was something that Game of Thrones caught a lot of shit for too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people are garbage is really the moral of the story there, but not much news. More at 11.
Yeah, the Vox Machina animation's pretty good, at least. I think
I think they got cool. one of the Justice League animators on it, or I believe, I forget his name.
Nice.
The Injustice.
That definitely helps.
The Injustice.
Also,
yeah. Was it Injustice? Okay. Yeah, but it's it does look very good. I like the style.
I gotta say though, their orc character is basically just Drax though, and like it that I think bothers me more than anything. It's
Grog, he's got like the big strong. He's like big strong idiot, which is a trope, definitely a cliche / trope, but
but with a kind heart. I'm just kind of over the Drax trope, I guess.
Can someone explain to me, like I've heard Vox Machinima like a lot in these last couple years, and like does that mean something? What does that mean?
That's the name of their party, is Vox Machina. It's the name of like their party in the game. Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
just.
think it translates to voice of the machine, right? That's what it means.
Yeah, I've seen like a lot of like
Uh,
films call
I
themselves
forget
Machina
something
or
like that.
yeah, like that kind of
No.
stuff. Yeah.
Deus Ex Machina is like God in the machine,
Okay.
right? It's a term used to describe like, some whatever when some miracle happens that saves the heroes at the last second,
Yeah.
like somebody shows up or there's some sort of act of God. That's Deus Ex Machina.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if it's referencing something to do with that. I don't know. Maybe it just sounds cool. It's also a very steampunk D&D world, which I hate steampunk. I know Greg loves steampunk, but I hate Greg. No,
so
I'm
it's not like it's not in the standard like classic
There's
Renaissance like area that most people play their campaigns
I
in.
mean,
there's a lot of fantasy in here. I mean,
there's a lot
the
of
opening
fantasy,
city, the opening city that they're in is more steam, but there's a lot of like traditional fantasy in Exandria, which is the world that all takes place in. But I don't really know much of that we'll see this season for the show. But
at any rate, guys, thanks for letting me come on and ruin your show.
oh yeah, no.
wait, before Blake goes, I have to get his thing because, like I said, I've seen nothing about Boba Fett, but the outcry.
Why, Greg?
I just want to know. I just want to think because I'm interested. Like Blake, the Rainbow Bike Squad, discuss.
The Rainbow Bike Squad?
Yeah.
Like the mods?
They're a group of teen kids that live in a house on Tatooine. They're broken poor.
And they have like
and they drive colored.
I will say,
colored speeders.
I will say, for being broken poor, they certainly have a lot of gear in their bodies, and their mopeds are very shiny. I don't understand why their shit is so damn shiny on a desert planet. I think that was the thing that bothered me the most. Is like the concept is they're supposed to be poor, but they have way more. They have fancy shit, and it's clean. And it just, to me, the aesthetics of that and the idea like, well, we can't afford water, but we're all roboted up, just seemed a little silly to me. Like it's an incongruent plot point, but like the concept of them, like having them exist in the world, I'm fine with that. It was just the context and what they show up is a little odd to me.
It breaks the world immersion is what I've been reading is that they just kind of pulls you out of the world for like they're like, why is this here, like why is this in this
I don't know, it didn't break my world immersion. Everybody cries and whines about how Star Wars never does anything new, and they do one thing that isn't Star Wars and everybody cries about how stupid it looks. I don't know, I'm just like so over it myself. But
I don't know, like knowing Robert Rodriguez and how he likes to do things, I guess, it makes sense. I think the thing that bothered me most about this, and this is a minor spoiler, but there's basically 2 episodes straight where it has nothing really to do with the main plot. It's just all a side thing, and you only see Boba Fett like once in those 2 episodes. And I think if you're gonna put his name on this shit, it better fucking be about Boba Fett. That's kind of like my one major complaint is like all the side stuff that gave everybody the feels. I was like, this is the shit I want to get away from. This, like, I appreciated The Mandalorian because here's a tale that's adjacent to all this stuff, and like you have Luke Skywalker show up at the end, and it's a great cameo. I don't want that to be the entire focus. I want stories without Jedis. I want stories about characters we haven't met yet. I want things that don't tie into the Skywalker story. And Boba Fett didn't need to tie into any of that shit. And the fact that there's 2 episodes of his show that have nothing to do with him, and it's just sort of like pandering to that, was kind of annoying.
It's a lot of setup for future stuff for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of setup, but it should have probably happened on the Mandalorian show instead of on Boba Fett's show. And everyone's like, well, Boba Fett got an episode, and it's like, yeah, but I mean, the Mandalorian was still like heavily in that, wasn't the worst show. It cracks me up that the lyrics to this theme song are just Boba Fett over and over by like choirs.
I didn't notice that until I was watching the last episode. That's what they're saying. Yeah. It's like it reminded me of Skyrim, where like they're like Dovahkiin, no, but you can't if you're not like dialed in audibly, like you can't tell that like that's what they're saying. And I was like the 8th time I was like, oh, they're saying Boba Fett, like they're chanting it. Okay, but yeah, thought it was all right. I like the second half of the season more than the first half, but I don't have too many profound thoughts on it. I never really cared much for Boba Fett as a character myself. But yeah, that is.
I mean,
some of the stuff that's out.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ming-Na Wen more than I like Boba Fett. Fennec is
Ming-Na Wen is a gem.
And also, one of the best thing that Star Wars has done is made Amy Sedaris canon. I fucking love Amy Sedaris. She is so good, and I think that was the one thing I appreciated about those 2 episodes that weren't so Boba Fett was I got more Amy Sedaris. Watch Strangers with Candy, Donovan. It's a show before your time, but it's hilarious. It stars Amy Sedaris and Stephen Colbert and a bunch of other really funny people. I'm just gonna note that, but yeah, I love her to death. I want more. I want Amy Sedaris to get a fucking spin-off show.
Yeah, that'd be funny. I can see it happening at this point, but yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, yeah, I'll quit griping and let you get back to the business of actually hosting the show. Thank you once again for
we got like a segment here, but I'll see you soon, Blake. We'll be back on this channel very shortly.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping the refs win today's Madden game.
That's
fine. See how it goes.
That's all good.
All right. I'll see you soon enough.
All right, dude.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That's his flush because I didn't know how else to. I didn't know what else to. I need to get a flush sound effect, but I think that's like more his thing, the flush stuff.
Yeah, too legit. That's just a random. Greg's like, "What's the first sound button that's gonna play when I hit this button here?" Greg, I forgot to check in with you, but do you want to do a generational gap or what here?
I don't. I'd rather talk about the story that I added last minute that I just found out about today.
Oh yeah. The streaming thing, right?
It's a big deal. It's a lot bigger deal. I think people are entering it, and I have like some really heavy duty thoughts that are really concerning to me.
I can do that.
So this, I don't know if you had a chance to read it down because I kind of gave it to you last minute. So this basically is Disney is closing the gap with Netflix. So that means that the subscribers are starting to slow on Netflix's front because you'll peak, right? We all peak, like IGN peaks, right? You can't get any higher than 35 million people. Like that's everyone is on your site, and Netflix is having that problem right now as Disney continues to close the gap on them. And like you mentioned before, last month they did like their quarterly reports and they're hemorrhaging money. And not in a good way. Like, they're trying to throw as much stuff at the wall as possible. So Disney is rapidly catching up. I don't want Disney to catch up. Disney is an evil company. They're not good. They don't have good intentions. They have too much IP. They have too much power in the entertainment industry. They're a bad company. I don't want to see them overtake Netflix. I don't want to have all my shit on Disney Plus. I don't want to give Disney any more money than I already have in my lifetime. They good. You know what I mean? So I'm really concerned about this. I like the stuff that Netflix is doing. Disney is doing a lot of big tier shit, but they're not doing nearly as much as Netflix is. Not nearly. Like, yeah, they have they might have bigger budgets or they might have bigger intellectual property like with Star Wars and Marvel and everything like that, but I don't want that. I don't want Netflix to go bankrupt and have everyone go to Disney Plus. I don't want that. I like that Netflix exists. I like that they're doing new things. I like that they try to throw different things at the wall. Disney Plus will just play it safe and put nostalgia shit on there and keep milking Star Wars until everyone's sick of it, and then even at that point they'll still milk it. I'm very concerned. Donovan, do you have any thoughts about the story? I am very super concerned.
Well, I was gonna say, what do you think? Do you think this ends with like Disney buying Netflix in like 2030 when Netflix is like in financial hell and Disney Plus has like 1 billion viewers? And then
either that or they just laugh them out and they go under, and then they just because they're losing. A lot of their subscribers, and for those who don't remember, like Netflix is what kind of sparked my interest in coming back to the MCU. Things like Daredevil and Jessica Jones were great shows. Mm-hmm. They were different. They did something new. They showed you a world of the MCU that wasn't like easily digestible. They have themes of murder and rape and child abuse. Like these are deep dark stories. This isn't like. I'm sorry, I don't want to shit on the MCU out of my head. This isn't the MCU safe bar. You know what I mean? This isn't a safe space for like superheroes. Like anyone could die at any given time. It's awesome. And until recently, I guess Daredevil wasn't MCU canon, even though it was. And that doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. Like I always thought it was canon.
That goes back to the thing back when Ike Perlmutter was running like a lot of the Marvel stuff, and him and Kevin Feige kind of butted heads, and one of them was overseeing the movies, one was overseeing TV. So like when they would put stuff in TV, like they would never acknowledge it or mention it in MCU because it wasn't really fulfilling their vision. But now that he controls all of that, now they rope it all in, which is why it was like that, where they'd be like the incident, but you would never see or hear anything of them in the movies. Yeah. See, Danny brings up a point that I was going to bring up. Like right now, Disney has like the price advantage on Netflix. I think Disney Plus is still like $8.99 or whatever, which Netflix just announced a price hike, I believe, this month or last month. But like Disney will get there too. Like Disney Plus is still in like a honeymoon phase, even though 2019 was 3 years ago, and Disney Plus has been out for a while, and we're on the second season of The Mandalorian, and it feels like that platform's been around for a while. It's still incredibly young compared to when Netflix streaming became a thing. And so there'll be a time like Disney Plus is gonna hike up its price point. Like there's gonna be the day where they tell you, all right, now it's $13 a month, and people are gonna either pay for it or not. Like I think that they have a plateau themselves. Again, right now it's like it's nothing but up for Disney Plus because every week it's like, here's the Obi-Wan poster, the new Marvel Ironheart show's coming out. Like, there's a lot of like seemingly cool shit that they have like planned, but like I think it's like 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Like once we've gotten a lot of that stuff, like when the onus will be on them to kind of get more creative with stuff. Because right now, like the idea of like Marvel shows are still super cool. Like MCU, like ripped straight from the MCU TV shows, is still like a really cool idea to MCU fans because it's still relatively new, not counting like the Netflix stuff. But like that'll like wear on people like after like the 15th show when they don't care to keep up with all of them. Same thing with Star Wars. Like Star Wars live action shows in this like sense, like it's still a relatively new thing, and like people like trip over themselves to see it. I'm one of the people that trip over myself to watch every Wednesday. But, like that'll wear off eventually when you're on like the 8th spinoff of Mandalorian. So I don't know. It's the same thing with Netflix, right? Like once people got tired of Orange is the New Black and House of Cards, and then they had to like think outside the box and they had to start getting like weird shit. That's when they started hiring random directors to make like these weird movies, and you get like you get like Mank and you get Don't Look Up and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, just an industry thing, yes, Disney is like the biggest threat to the entertainment world right now because they continue to grow and buy things. And like right now, it seems very far fetched. Like, what if like Disney just owned Netflix? What if they just bought them? Like, now that won't happen. But like, Netflix loses a lot of money, and they've been able to skate by losing a lot of money for many years. But like, at some point, that won't work, right? Like, it won't be this year, it won't be next year, but someday, like, they'll have to not be in debt. And who knows what happens? Maybe Disney comes along and is like, yeah, we'll get you out of debt and we'll own you and we'll make our own Stranger Things and whatnot. So I don't know. No, I think your concern is very found. I would not disagree with you.
Because, like, to me, like a show like Stranger Things, a show like The Witcher, a show like, I mean, I'm trying to remember the other Netflix original series that I saw. They're all very good. They're all very unique, high production quality, like interesting things that they're doing. You know, where like Disney is basically coasting on Star Wars and Marvel. And that's what they're doing. And like, to be honest, like the Marvel shows are hit and miss. I mean, the Captain America and Falcon, it got really mixed receptions. I mean, I have no interest in seeing that seeing that show, but I remember it got really mixed receptions when it came out. The Scarlet Witch show, like, I think a good show is something that has like staying power, right? Something you can talk about like a year from now, be like, oh, that show was great, you should watch it again. Like the Scarlet Witch show, I'm sorry, was just a trailer for the Doctor Strange movie. It was an 8-episode gigantic marketing ploy for the new movie. Like that's what it was. Like that's all it was.
I liked WandaVision.
I mean, it wasn't bad. Like nothing can it be its own thing, and that's why I have such mad respect for Jessica Jones and Daredevil, even though those shows also fell off in their later seasons. But like they were their own thing, telling their own stories, and didn't have to worry about setting something up in their AAA release. Like I fucking hate that about Marvel. Like they're so aggressive with that shit. I hate it so much. I hate it. I can't even begin to describe how much I hate it.
That's fair, but I think you should also put some like blame on Netflix. Like Netflix also runs their own business. I mean, they've made many mistakes in shit that's gonna doom them someday. Like Denny mentioned it, where like Netflix painted themselves into a corner by creating a pace that's not sustainable even for Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, Netflix has that philosophy of like more and more everything all the time, where every day there's like 10 new shows on Netflix that you just can't conceivably watch in a week because they hire 1 million writers and 1 million directors and give them $1 billion to do whatever. That's Netflix's fault because they're screwing themselves in the long run because you just can't sustain that and make money forever. So
it doesn't help
I think
that
some
like,
of the blame also falls on them as well.
It doesn't help that like Henry Cavill wants like $400,000 per episode of The Witcher either. Like that's like destroying them. Like they can't like they used to be save money on not spending that much money on actors, but they're spending big money.
It's true, but also like he's not holding a gun to the executive making them pay. Like, they can tell him, go fuck yourself, and then do whatever they want.
They should recast. It would be incredible if they did that. So much respect for their fucking company if they did that. Like, no, fuck you. We'll get a new character then. Like, that would be great.
But that goes back to my point of, I think Netflix deserves a lot of blame for their own eventual demise as well. If Netflix does ever go down, I don't think you can just say, well, thanks Disney. I think it'll also be thanks Netflix, because they do a lot of misstepping themselves. But I love Netflix. I watch it all the time. It's one of the few streaming services that I actually have a subscription to and pay for every month, and don't do the like free trial thing or whatnot, because I do like a lot of the stuff they put out. But yeah, I don't think their model is very sustainable, but I also am not a Netflix shareholder, so that's their problem to figure out. It doesn't concern me all that much. But no, I think there's some interesting stuff in the Reuters report.
Maybe just slow down. If the Netflix CEO is watching the show, which I know he is because we're that popular.
Oh yeah.
Just slow down.
Like
Disney is climbing because they're slowing down. They're not throwing 20 original programs with high budgets all at once. You know, they have this huge syndication backlog of nostalgia that everyone's subscribing for. So just slow your roll. You know, pick and choose what you want to do. Be a little bit more picky. You know, slow down a bit. You know, like. Really think about if this 8-episode show is worth $20 million to produce. Like just if they just slow down, I think they'll recover relatively quickly, because it's a rat race right now. They're trying to beat Hulu, they're trying to beat Disney Plus, they're trying to beat Paramount, they're trying to beat all these new subscription services, and it's difficult. So they really need to just slow down, and figure out how they're going to solve this, because they're losing subscribers, and Disney's gaining subscribers, and they need to figure out why. And without looking at the analytical data, because I'm sure that's buried in a box somewhere for only the executives to look at, Disney has arguably better IP. They have Marvel, they have Star Wars, they have Simpsons.
More established, beloved, built.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if the show's asinine or you don't enjoy it. A lot of people do, and that's what people are tuning into. Like that's the thing. But leading back to that, I miss Daredevil. I miss Jessica Jones. I know the other seasons kind of fell apart. Because I think they didn't know where they wanted to go, but those shows I've watched Daredevil season 1 and 2 probably like 3 times. Like it's such a great show. It's such a different type of show. Jessica Jones is a different type of theme. You know what I mean? That's all I could say. Like, they're just so different than anything that Marvel puts out. It's just, I love it. I love it to death.
I quite like Daredevil, and I like the first season of Jessica Jones. That show got a bit weird. A lot of the Marvel Netflix stuff got weird.
Well, it's dark, man.
Other than Daredevil season 3.
The Purple Man's whole thing was that he raped people. Like, that was the... that was the big thing. Like, that would never be in an MCU film. Please. That's way too dark and way too adult for the family to enjoy. Like, that's not the same themes at all. I think maybe that's why I like what I like about it. I hope they go back to that. I want... pull more like down to earth superheroes. I mean, they're not all going to be winners. I mean, Luke Cage was pretty forgettable. Like I remember seeing it. I just remember a lot of the show. I remember season 3 of Daredevil was a mess. The Defenders was a complete mess. But like, start over. Let's pull some back catalog of some stuff. You know what I mean? Let's talk to DC. They're desperate to get some new fan base out there. Like let's try this again. Let's hit the reset button. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. Because eventually, like, Disney's going to run out of things to hype. Like, they can't keep building up to the next AAA film and moving on. Like, they're going to have to do something new, because people are going to get tired. They may not get tired for 50 years, but eventually they will. And I think they will reboot it once all the actors are like, well, I'm done. And they have to reboot it, and they'll reboot it with X-Men or whatever. But we'll see. Moon Knight, they have Moon Knight too. Like, they're doing, like, let's pull some of this. Let's try something else. Let's do this,
Yeah, that's what Denny mentions, and Denny also brought up a good point about like how Netflix relies on the binge, and that like kills the life cycle of everything they put out. Because like everyone's dying for Stranger Things season 4. It'll probably come out sometime this year, and when it does, they're gonna release all 7, 8, 9 episodes on a Thursday, and by Saturday night, everyone in the world's gonna have seen it all, and everybody will talk about it all weekend. And the next week, we'll be on to the next thing. But with Disney, Moon Knight's about to come out end of this month or next month, and it's going to be 1 episode a week for like 8 weeks. That's like 2 months. That you may hate it, but that's 2 months that people will be on Twitter talking about Moon Knight, that they'll be asking people, texting them in Discord. And then when that show finally does end, Miss Marvel will be next, or Ironheart or whatever, or Obi-Wan will be ready to go on May 25th. And I think that's much more sustainable. Like, say what you want about Star Wars, but if they're doing 10 episodes over 10 weeks, that's going to kill Netflix's 9 episodes in one day that people are going to stay home from work and binge in one sitting and then move on from. And I know that's like an age-old debate, like which is better? Do you like binging or do you like the broken up? And everybody has their preference. Right. But I think from like a business standpoint, it's straight up just smarter or better to have the broken up release. But again, Netflix has kind of established it. Like if Netflix announced Stranger Things were only giving you episode 1 and then next Thursday's episode 2, people would lose their minds. They'd be like, how could you do this to us? Like, this is wrong. But like, that's how TV was for like 100 years until 10 years ago.
Yeah. But what's interesting to me about this whole thing with just, I'm surprised that, because you're at that point now where like, when you go see the Doctor Strange Curse of the Twin Dimensions or whatever it's called, like the backlog you have to watch to understand what's happening is insane. Like, I cannot believe it's not fragmented yet. Like, you have to watch the entirety of WandaVision. You have to watch the original Doctor Strange. You have to watch Endgame and Infinity War. And it's just like, you have to backtrack and watch like 20 hours of content more to like understand what's happening in this film. And I'm just, usually when stuff like that happens, it fragments the community or fragments people from going into it because you're cutting off like a large part of your audience because you're not going to know what's going on unless they've watched this 30 hours of media. And that's very interesting that it's working for them, and I don't understand how. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's really interesting to me. I don't understand how it's not that way.
I think it's hit or miss. I think in some cases it works because like you actually don't have to watch all the stuff. Like obviously if you do, you'll know like where that side character came from or what that sentence was about. But it'll. I think the movies themselves are a lot of the times, more often than not, still coherent. If you haven't seen everything, like I mean, I doubt that a lot of the people that saw Endgame saw all 21 Marvel movies, but Endgame still made like $3 billion because like as long as you have the gist of that's the bad guy and all these good guys need to take him down, you'll be good enough. Which goes back to the whole root of superhero genre. It's like the very basic tropes of good versus evil, good triumphs all, which isn't too hard to grasp even if you don't know like what every Kalamazoo spell, building, character, world is. Greg, we're sitting at about 5:50. Well, we're on the East Coast, 5:50, 2:50 on the West Coast. We probably should start to wrap here just because we have a stream coming up in 10 minutes. We've got the finale. I don't know if we can call it our Super Bowl.
The finale of the Super Bowl.
our Shacknews big game for our John Madden Memorial Tournament, which is happening very soon. It'll be myself versus TJ Denzer, senior news editor here. That'll be very fun. Blake will be back hosting and commentating along with the game. That'll be very exciting. So I do think we should probably wrap it up here and make some room for that. But we'll be back next week, where it's still getting through February. It's a short month, but we'll be back on February 17th. That'll be next Thursday, as long as I'm not forgetting anything horrible that's going to stop that from happening. If so, we'll let you know. But of course, as always, I'm Donovan Erskine, news editor here at Shacknews. That's Greg Burke, our head of video. I gotta get ready for stream. Like I need like 2 minutes to breathe.
Dun 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 dun. That's basically the intro of The Two Heads Collide. The collide of the force of an unstoppable force meets an immovable object with TJ Jenser and Donovan Erskine fighting for the title of Madden 2022. Yeah. Will the Baltimore Ravens be victorious, or whatever team TJ plays be victorious? Because I only know one team right now in this chapter.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, keep it rolling, but I have to go, so I'm not really sure what you want us to do here. I'm not sure what you want us to do here.
Bye.
I mean, you can keep the like starting soon screen running if you want, but I do need to run here for a few minutes before we get into our next stream. But please stay tuned, stay on this bat channel. In the next few minutes, folks. But we'll see you soon.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
You know us.
All right.